All right, guys, here's your start 2 notes on 1.3, which is solving equations. This should be a review for you, so it should go pretty smoothly. Let's look at some basic steps to follow in case you are stuck or lost or not sure where to start. First, you're going to distribute anything that needs to be multiplied here, if that's the case. If that's not the case, then we'll go to simplify each side, and you're going to do this by combining like terms. So you're going to combine the variables together and the constants together. Then you want to move the variables to just one side, and then you're going to solve by using inverse operations. So here, this is where we want to isolate the variable. And the way we do that is we want to first add or subtract any constants we have on that side, on the side with the variable, and then we want to either multiply or divide any coefficients we have. And again, coefficients are the numbers being multiplied by the variable, okay? And then we should get an answer where, depending on your variable, let's just say it's x, we have x equals blah, 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 blah. So everything is on this side, and x is over here by itself. Okay, so let's look at example problem number 1. First, we're going to distribute this 6 to both of these terms. So 6 times n is 6n, and then 6 times 5 is 30. That's still equal to 2. Okay, now we have all the variables on one side. Then we want to isolate. First, we're going to add or subtract any constants we have. So since on this side we're adding 30, we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to subtract 30 from each side. Then we're left with 6n on the left side. 2 minus 30 is negative 28. And then to isolate the variable, we want to divide by the 6 because the 6 is being multiplied by it. So to undo it, we're going to divide both sides by 6. Here you can see on the left side, this 6n over 6 reduces to n, and that is equal to negative 28 over 6. Before we give our final answer, we want to simplify this fraction. So if we divide the top and the bottom by 2, we'll actually get n is equal to negative 14 over 3. And there is our final answer for number 1. Let's look at a little bit more of a complicated problem to show you some more steps. Let's look at number 6. Okay, so first to distribute, so we're going to take this 1/3 and we're going to distribute to each term here. And what that's going to look like. So the left side is going to stay the same. 5 over 6w plus 21 is equal to negative 1/3 times 2w. We're just going to multiply the negative 1/3 by the coefficient here. That will give us negative 2/3. We're going to leave the w. And then negative 1/3 times negative 9 is going to be positive, and it's going to be 9 over 3, which is equal to 3. So then we'll just add 3 over here. Okay, the next step is to get all the variables on one side. Okay, so we're going to add, since this is negative here, we're going to add 2/3 w to each side, 2/3 w. Okay, these will add up to 0. Then on this left side, we will have 5 over 6w plus 2 over 3w plus 21 still is equal to 3. We want to combine these terms over here, and we'll do that by adding the coefficients together. Okay, so we have 5 over 6 plus 2 over 3. We need to find a common denominator. We can just multiply the second fraction by 2 over 2. That will give us 5 over 6 plus 4 over 6, which equals 9 over 6. We can actually simplify this fraction even further by dividing both top and bottom by 3 to give us 3/2. Okay, so now we combine these like terms. We have 3 over 2w plus 21 is equal to 3. We'll isolate this variable first by subtracting the constants that are on the same side. So we're left with 3 over 2w is equal to 3 minus 21 is negative 18. Okay, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal here to get rid of the 3 halves w, or we'll multiply by 2 over 3. We'll have to do that on both sides. And you can see here that this 2 over 3, the 2's cancel, the 3's cancel, we're left with just w equals. And then let's look at this negative 18 times 2 over 3. So we can say negative 18 is over 1. Multiplying fractions, we multiply across, so negative 18 times 2, I believe, is negative 36. And then 1 times 3 is 3. We can divide negative 36 by 3. That's actually equal to negative 12. So this right side reduces to negative 12. So w is equal to negative 12 there. So a lot more steps involved here. I showed every little step here, but a lot of this stuff, you don't need to show all these extra steps if you can keep track of what you're adding and subtracting and multiplying and all of that stuff, okay? I just wanted to make sure you could see everything I was doing. So let's go down to, we're going to look at special cases. So I'll do both of these problems. We'll look at how to do proportions and then literal equations, which you'll have a foldable on too if you need help with that. Okay, so special cases. Let's look at number 11. You're not going to really know what the special cases are before you start, but I'll show you how to solve the problem, and then once we get to the solution, that's when it's going to be a little tricky. So I'll show you what you're going to need to write down for the solution. Okay, so according to our rules, we're going to distribute this first. So the left side stays the same. 1 plus 3c is equal to 5 minus 5c, and then we're just going to add 8c on the end. Let's simplify by combining like terms. So left side will stay the same. 5 will stay the same, and then we have a negative 5c and a positive 8c. So we're going to add those together. We're going to get plus 3c. Now we want to get the variables on one side. So we will subtract 3c from both sides. And then we're left with 1 equals 5. If you notice here that positive 3c minus 3c, that is equal to 0, and the same thing happens here. So that's why those disappear from each side, and then we have 5 is equal to 1, which if you look at the statement on its own, 5 is not equal to 1, right? So we're going to put a slash through this. That is not true. And because there's no variables left and we're left with this equation or this statement, 5 is equal to 1, that's not true. Well, our answer is going to be no solution. Okay, so if you're trying to solve an equation for a variable and your variables cancel out and you're left with just two numbers that it says are equal to each other, but you know they're not true, your answer is always going to be no solution. So basically what that means is it doesn't matter what C is. You can put in any number for C, and you're always going to get it to simplify to this statement, which is not true. So there's no value of C that will ever make this equation true. Okay, so that's one type of special case. Let's look at number 12 here. Let's solve the equation same way. So we're going to distribute this negative 8 to both of these terms. This left side will remain the same. Then we have negative 8 times x is negative 8x. Negative 8 times negative 5 is positive 40. Okay, and then we want to get the variables onto one side, so we'll add 8x to both sides. Okay, and then again you can see that this is equal to 0, this is equal to 0. So if we have on the left side 40 minus 0, that's equal to 40, and on the right side 0 plus 40, that's equal to 40. So again, we had our variables cancel out here, and but we're left with the statement 40 is equal to 40. Now this is true, right? 40 is equal to 40. They are the same number. They are equal to each other. So if your variables cancel out and you're left with a statement that is true, your answer is going to be all real numbers. Okay, so x, that's basically saying that whatever your values of x are, whatever you put into x, you're going to end up with this statement 40 is equal to 40. So you can choose whatever number you want for x. Any number will work, and you'll get the same equation here, 40 is equal to 40, and it will be true. Okay, or if you don't want to write out all real numbers, you can use the symbol for all real numbers. So any number that belongs to the real number system is a solution for this equation. Okay? All right, so let's move on. Let's look at proportions now. So proportions are when you have a fraction on one side and a fraction on the other side, okay? The way that you're going to do this is to eliminate the fractions, you're going to multiply the opposite side by the denominator over the denominator of the opposite side, okay? So we have 3 over here. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3 times 3, okay? And then you'll see here that this 3 cancels out with this 3, so we're left with 5 on this side. And then on this other side, we have 2 times 3 in the numerator is 6 over x plus 4, okay? And then we're going to multiply both sides by this denominator. So we'll say this times x plus 4 on this side and times x plus 4 on both sides. Okay, so we're doing the same thing to both sides. It keeps the equation true. And you'll see that this denominator crosses off with this. And then we just need to simplify this left side. So we have 5 times x plus 4 is equal to 6. Then we're going to distribute here. 5 times x is equal to 5x. 5 times 4 is 20. That's equal to 6. Now we need to isolate the variable. We're going to subtract 20 from both sides. We're left with 5x is equal to negative 14. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5 to get x all by itself. And then we have negative 14 over 5. And that is the solution to this equation. Okay, so try the same thing over here. With these denominators, you're going to multiply this side by 5x minus 9, and then you multiply this side by 2x minus 8. Okay? All right, and then the last section here is literal equations, okay? So literal equations, these are actual equations that we use for different things. Like you can see here at number 15, we have the equation for circumference. C is equal to 2 pi r. We have here an equation for area and such like that. So any equation could be like a literal equation could be any kind of like formula that we use, or it could be an equation that has multiple variables, okay? So when you're asked to solve a literal equation, they'll tell you what you need to be solving for, okay? So let's look at number 15 here. Hopefully I can finish before my iPad dies. Let's look at number 15. So it's asking you here to solve for pi, okay? So pi is right here, and we need to isolate this variable. Okay, so I'm going to switch this around because I like to have the variable we're solving for on the left side. Okay, so I just switched these sides. So we have pi is being multiplied by 2 and r. So to get rid of those, we're going to divide by 2r on both sides to keep it equal. And then you can see here this 2's cancel out and the r's cancel out. Then we're left with pi, oops, that's not pi. We're left with pi is equal to c over 2r. And even though this isn't a number, this is still the solved equation. This is what pi is equal to, okay? And that's it. That's all you need to do. so let's look at one more problem. Which one looks good? This number 19 looks a little bit more complicated. So let's look at this one, okay? So it's asking us to solve for v. So we want to isolate v, and v is over here on the left side. So I'm just going to switch sides like I did last time. W plus v, I'm keeping everything the same. I'm just switching what is on each side of the equation, okay? This looks weird. This is an equal sign. Okay. So first, this is what we're solving for. First, we need to distribute just like normally. So we have 1/2 w plus 1/2 v is equal to 7w. Okay, we want to get v by itself here, so we're going to subtract 1/2 w from both sides. Okay, here, if we find a common denominator, we're going to do 7 minus 1/2. To find a common denominator, this is 7 over 1, we'll multiply 7 over 1 by 2 over 2. Okay, and that gives us 14 over 2 minus 1/2, which equals 13 over 2. So that's what the right side is going to reduce to. So we're left with 1/2 v is equal to 13 halves w. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit off the page here. And then to undo this multiply, this 1/2 being multiplied, we're just going to multiply by 2 over 1, the reciprocal, which is just 2. And then we'll multiply by 2 over 1 on this side. Okay, so you can see that these 2's cancel out, which leaves us with just v. V is equal to this 13 halves times 2 over 1. The 2 cancels out, so we're left with 13 over 1, or just 13. That was supposed to be in orange. Just 13. Okay, so v is equal to 13w. And even though we don't know the value of w, it's not a number, we still have solved for this variable, which is what we were wanting in the beginning. We wanted to solve for v. So now we have solved for v. Okay, so try out the rest of these example problems. Let me know if you want to see more videos on specific examples. I can definitely post those. And then you should be able to start your homework number 3.